A very good morning to you. My name is Philip Allen. I'm the Director of Learning at the BBA, and today, for the next hour, to discuss how speech analytics can help deliver meeting regulatory requirements, I'm delighted to be joined this hour by Brian, Spitch Regional Director in the UK and Ireland, Martin, Country Manager of Spitch UK and Ireland, and Tripti, Senior Consultant, and Vadim, Product Director at Spitch. Just before I hand over to Brian, I'll cover off a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen and your console are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your question. We will try to answer as many of these questions as possible, but if a fuller answer is needed or we run out of time, it will be answered later by the presenters via email. Please note that when you ask a question, your name and your organization is not disclosed to other webinar attendees. A copy of today's slides are available straight after the presentation, which Spitch will send out to you via the BBA. If you want to contact any of the presenters directly, please click on the mail envelope next to the presenter's photo. To the right of the resource list, you'll also notice a number of icons. Feel free to use those icons to engage or contact directly with the presenters. You can expand your slide area by clicking on the maximize icon on the top right of the slide area or by dragging the bottom right corner of the slide area. If you do have any technical difficulties, please click on the help widget. It has a question mark icon and covers common technical issues. An on-demand version of the webinar will be available approximately 2 hours' time and can be accessed using the same audience link that was sent to you earlier. We intend to present for around about 20 to 30 minutes and have plenty of time for questions to be answered throughout the webinar as well as at the end of the webinar. Brian, over to you.
Thank you for joining this webinar, which is a joint presentation between the British Bankers Association and Spitch. Before we get into the webinar, I'd like to just highlight a few items of housekeeping. As we've said, there will be a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. However, please feel free to ask questions as we go through the session. If we are unable to answer your question during the session, please provide your contact details and I'll respond to you directly. If you'd like to email me directly, my email address is brian.martin@spitch.ch. A copy of this webinar will be made to all registrants. As we move through the webinar, it is our intention to demonstrate how speech analytics can assist regulated companies meet their regulators' requirements, and we are specifically looking at the requirements around Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI DSS as it is known, and looking forward to MiFID II. While there is a focus on meeting regulatory requirements, we'll also be looking at operational efficiencies and how they can be made whilst ensuring the customer experience remains attractive and drives customer and client loyalty.
Okay, one of the key features of this webinar is to increase interactivity, and we'd love to gain your opinions. And so you'll see on your screen a question which please feel free to answer. First question is, are automated solutions used to manage regulatory compliance in your organizations? If yes, in which business area? You can click one answer or many. Okay, give you a little more time to do that. Okay, panel, what do you think? Is that, so we've got 90% automated solutions are not used. Is that a surprise? Is that normal?
It's not a surprise, and we can see it from the marketplace or from the information we are getting from the marketplace. It's quite normal situation. A lot of people and organizations are looking into engage automation in help to tackle or to manage the regulatory compliance, for example. but only few of them are so far and so advanced that they are actually using such technology. But it's starting now, and we can see the demand.
And I noticed that 10% using PCI DSS compliance technology. Again, is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's most likely related to the card and payment industry. People are trying to use it because it lowers the cost and increase the quality of the PCI DSS compliance. And we will be also talking later on about one of the or two of the solutions they are used in the marketplace in more details.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me now explain about how modern technology helps meet the security and regulatory requirements. And as of now, I would like to walk you through the business case 1, automated reduction of sensitive data as per regulatory requirements. And I am sure that the majority of the listeners here are aware of what PCI DSS stands for. The PCI DSS stands for the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. It is a proprietary information security standard for organizations that handle bundled branded credit cards from major card providers, including Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and GC. The PCI Data Security Standard specifies a number of requirements for compliance. The PCI DSS standard is mandated by the car brands and administered by the Payment Card Industry Security Standard Council. PCI DSS is currently in version 3.2 that was released April 2016. The PCI DSS stipulates that the 3-digit or 4-digit card verification code or value printed in the card, called either CVV2, CVV, CID, cannot be retained after authorization, and the full primary account numbers, called PAN, cannot be kept without further protection measures. It also stipulates that personal data shouldn't be kept outside of a PCI DSS compliant repository. Personal data can include, for example, names, addresses, national insurance numbers, dates of birth, account numbers, or similar. As such, there is a risk that organizations taking customer payment card details over telephone may be recording full cardholder details to comply with various regulatory bodies, thereby causing them to be in contravention of PCI DSS requirements and potentially exposing cardholder data to unnecessary risk. It's also worth mentioning that there are other regulations, like for example the Data Protection Act, that require special handling of sensitive information. Spitch works closely with companies that are involved in the development of PCI DSS rules or with businesses that provide services to monitor compliance. Based on their input and on demand from the marketplace, we have developed a solution that allows automated reduction of sensitive data. The main business or strategic objective of this solution is to make recordings compliant with current and future regulations like, for example, PCI DSS. And now, before we go into details, I would like to introduce to you two key performance indicators that drive the development of this solution: precision and recall. In a field of information retrieval, precision is the fraction of retrieved documents that are relevant to the query. In our case, documents relate to this sensitive information. And recall is the fraction of the documents that are relevant to the query that are successfully retrieved. Don't want to bother you with a lot of maths, and we will therefore switch to the next slide to show the solution. The starting point or starting situation is that there are recordings stored in a storage, and these recordings can contain or surely contain sensitive data. The situation can be seen as normal for any contact center or card processing provider that deals with the card payments. And now we go to step 1. In this step, the solution identifies the sensitive data with high accuracy. It's important to mention that the accuracy has to be high in order to achieve good results. This is achieved with Spitch signifies speech analytics engine. And now let's go into the step number 2. In step 2, the solution redacts or edits the identified audio segments. Popular reduction actions are, for example, replacement with pre-recorded text or audio, like for example, sensitive data redacted, or replacement with beeps or silence, but in principle, it can be replaced with any audio record. The solution also allows timestamping at the start and at the end of the sensitive data segment. As a result, recordings are cleaned of sensitive data that can be either saved in an archive folder or can replace the original record or can be processed in any different way depending on the requirements and business needs. And now, what are the main benefits of this solution? First of all, significant time savings when comparing to manual reduction. As you can imagine, such identification and reduction can be done also by human, but instead of minutes or hours, it will take days or months. Secondly, significant cost savings when comparing to manual reduction, not just because of the shorter processing time, but also because machine processing is cheaper than human processing. Then better quality. It may sound strange, but the machine can reach higher accuracy and consequently better quality outcomes. And at last, with this solution, the action is repeatable. So it can be repeated many times if needed. I would also like to mention that while we are discussing now the application of the solution on historical data or historical recordings, it can be also used online to monitor live conversations and provide compliance monitoring in real time.
Okay, so second slide, second poll question on the screen. Which areas benefit from automated solutions? Please select one or multiple answers. So which areas do you feel benefit from automated solutions? That's interesting. So 100% operations, 33% resource management, just over 16% on deployment time and output quality. Martin, does that resonate?
It's very fair picture. We can see it. Yeah, almost 100% are selected operations, and it's natural because really the compliance or the automation of the compliance it's used in operations mostly. But I would also say that the deployment time, because it's not probably very well known and people are afraid of automating such or using such automation because the deployment time, in their opinion, it's taking or may take too long. But in fact, such solutions are deployable now in a matter of days or weeks, especially if they are based in cloud. So it doesn't require a lot of, let's say, hardware processing behind. They can be easily plugged in. And not just Spitch, but there are also probably other providers too. But what we are doing, we are providing these solutions in cloud, accessible via API. And those APIs are designed in the way they are open to any reasonable and open architecture platform. So it's easy to integrate and it's easy to deploy. So basically, you can deploy it the next day.
Yes. So just a question that we've just received. Can solutions nowadays detect phrases that were not said directly, but rather in between the lines? Vadim, 15.
Yeah, I can answer. Yeah, Vadim is here. So definitely we can do this reduction, and our solution allow to detect that cases. We use our semantic interpretation engine for that. It means that our engine understands the meaning of phrases, not only do keyword pickup. So, for example, if you call to your telecom operator and say, I can't upload photo to Instagram, our machines understand that the problem is with internet connection and steer your call to the agent responsible for internet fault or internet slow connection. But you didn't say internet or connection at all. It is real semantic interpretation. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Vadim.
I would like to speak about speech analytics and how it can support regulatory requirements within live organizational environments. I would be able to take you through a few business cases in different scenarios where we will talk about applications of speech analytics and how it could be used. With the advancements made in technology and the breakthroughs in gathering large amounts of customer data, organizations are at a danger of compromising important customer information via unfortunate and unplanned events like data breaches. These events cause reputational damage, business disruption, and revenue loss, and have a significant negative impact on the firms facing these data breaches. Regulators are encouraging firms to act proactively to prevent, detect, and respond to these cyber attacks that can lead to breaches of payment data and other personal data. Companies, both large and small, need to start putting in place robust standards and procedures to counter the cybersecurity threat or face the prospect of paying astronomical costs in regulatory fines and obviously the reputational harm to their brand. We have narrowed down on 3 use cases today that we would like to discuss with you. These cover fraud management within financial institutions, script personalization and adherence within insurance, customer behavior analysis within debt collection. And as we proceed with this webinar, we will dive into greater detail of how technology can aid compliance in each of these 3 verticals. The first one that I'm going to talk about today is the ability to interrogate telephone records within financial institutions. Now, technology like speech analytics can assist organizations to identify in real time the use of prescribed keywords and phrases. It gives us the ability to have flags within systems to rapidly discover interaction content. This enables compliance officers to uncover potential fraud and non-compliant trader behavior and categorize interactions by compliance or risk topic. An example of this would be easy verification of client orders, which are placed over the telephone, with regards to verifying prices or volumes mentioned on the call in the event of a dispute. Tapping into this rich repository of unstructured data provides insight to fraudulent and illegal activity even before the regulators arrive. The next one I'd like to talk about today is the insurance regulations, etc. It is mandatory that within the insurance industry, certain statements pertaining to important information are read out loud to customers when they purchase a policy with an organization. Regulatory statements could include information with regards to the cancellation of the policy, the cooling off period, or other terms and conditions which the customer needs to be aware of. The onus of reading out this information lies on the agents within the conversation, and speech analytics is a powerful tool that can identify cases where these statements are read out or not read out. Many organizations pay penalties or fines when these statements are not mentioned to the customer during customer interactions. And that's where speech analytics is an effective tool that can be programmed into bespoke solutions to identify cases where these mistakes are made. And this will enable the organization to minimize fines that may be incurred and take remedial actions in quick time. The next use case that I'd like to speak about today is scenarios where speech analytics can be a lifesaver in the debt collection market. As we may be aware, debt collectors often set up payment schedules with payment defaulters. Now, these schedules are not legal agreements, but they're verbal agreements between the debtor and the debt collector, and they're called promise to pay schedules. Speech analytics can be used to analyze speech of both the debtor and the collector to identify opportunities and risks. A good example of that would be where speech analytics is used to identify Consumer Credit Act compliance breaches, which could lead to fines and also the revoking of a company's consumer credit license. Speech analytics can also improve recovery rates and allow organizations to ascertain best practice on calls to improve customer compliance as well as the customer experience.
So just to give us, by way of an introduction to Spitch, we are a Swiss company with our headquarters and research and development team located in Switzerland, in Zurich. We concentrate on delivering voice-driven solutions within 5 main industry verticals, of which the financial services industry is one. The others are healthcare, automotive, call centers, and government organizations. Within the financial services industry, we number some of the world's largest banks as our clients. The reasons why our partners choose Spitch are the high accuracy delivered by our software, the bespoke solutions, which means that each client is treated as an individual, and a flexible approach of our teams, not least the research and development team, and the ability of our software to integrate with third-party applications. We have a number of events coming up in Milan on the 23rd of May and in Zurich on the 29th of June. We would be happy to extend invitations to join those events as well. That's enough from me, and I think we're now going to move on to a Q&A session.
Okay, so next poll question. Which of the following are quick wins to support regulatory compliance? Which of the following do you think are quick wins to support regulatory compliance? Please select one or multiple answers. That's interesting. So just over half, 66% contact center quality assurance, QA on that. Sensitive date action as well. Exception handling card payment services, 44%. Would you say that's in line with what you're seeing, gentlemen, on that? And TRIPTY,
sensitive data redaction is a hot topic at the moment, especially by those people affected by PCI DSS.
It's also probably a question of the education of the marketplace, or what does it mean actually, what the technology can do nowadays with the regulatory requirements, how can it help? Because the sensitive data reduction is quite straightforward. If people straight understand what's the functionality, what are the benefits, how it works. While, for example, the exception handling is more complicated in terms of explaining the business value and the business case behind, and it takes more time for people to be able to realize what can be done, for example, with such solutions. And the contact center quality assurance is also on demand. More and more people are realizing that the quality of the contact center may not always be as you would like to, or as somebody would like to. It's also probably now more and more noticed that the compliance or the level of compliance that is reached by the contact center operations is not always as high as people would like to. They are paying more and more attention on that, and the way what we are seeing the industry is moving, that they are implementing or are starting to implement automated solution to help them to tackle these problems or issues. It's on rise now.
Okay. So we've just got a question coming in on how do you manage message type when a conversation is unstructured, where a set phrase may not be used?
Yeah, Philip, I did answer in text here, but I would say that we use semantic interpretation engine for that. Semantic interpretation take into account not only keywords but statistical semantic model, and we can label the topic of phrases or conversation chunk with semantic tag, take into account not only keywords but semantic tag.
So that picks up a conversation no matter what dialect, language that the individual may be speaking?
It all depends on data we train our systems. So before we go to operations, we need to adjust our model on the customer data, and when we train our system on the mixture of customer calls with some dialects, some topics, and vocabulary, we can do it with very high accuracy for that particular customer case.
And so, whilst on that vein, can technology now listen to speech in time and report non-compliant activity? For example, if the card number or CVV code and the PIN are mentioned by a speaker.
Yes, we can do it in real time. Yeah, Martin, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. It doesn't matter for the technology whether it's the sensitive data is provided or set by the speaker or by the agent. It's going to be picked up by the technology in the same way. If that's answered the question.
Okay. Yeah. Another question come in. Have you been able to use technology to successfully move to automated QA?
Absolutely. There are a few quick wins with the use of automation and this technology, where certain aspects of a conversation and quality assurance can be completely automated. For example, the mentioning of certain statements, whether they were said or they were not said, can be completely automated, and there can be flags within the system to highlight when any of those instances happened, where a certain piece of information was relayed or wasn't relayed. And that sort of equates back to quality assurance and quality control from a compliance perspective, which is a completely automated process.
Okay, so another question coming in. Do you use third-party speech and content analysts applications?
Maybe I can answer that one. We don't use any third-party speech engines or content analysis applications. We do partner with some partners that are providing with specific solutions, but in different areas. I would like to probably stress that all the technology we are using, it's proprietary and developed by Spitch. So we are relying on our own engines and on our own software development, which does provide this, I would say, probably higher quality and higher flexibility in terms of deployment of the solutions, because, as we discussed earlier, it's always beneficial to be able to bespoke tailor each of the solutions with regards to requirements and with the organization who is using them.
When we last spoke on the webinar in January or February, we listed a number of banks nationally and internationally are using speech analytics. Do you see that that continuing, that rise in growth in that adoption? It's now not early adoption. Is it now business as usual for organizations, regulated firms to use speech analytics in this way?
Well, definitely, a very, very good question. What we can see that more and more organizations are now adopting such technology. In the past, it was all the big giants that were able to start testing this technology years and years ago and slowly being able to adopt the technology. And mainly it was because there were not so many players, so there was not much choice, and it was quite difficult to implement it. But with nowadays technology, with the new players, especially when it's offered now in cloud, and with easy accessible and easy adjustable APIs, more and more companies, even smaller banks or building societies, are either piloting it or using it. We have, for example, also with us, we are now running few pieces of concepts or pilots, not just with banks, but for example with wealth management companies, with insurances too.
Thank you. So can a series of messages be linked and tracked to create a conversation series of messages with timestamps as a work process progresses?
A good question for Vadim, I would suggest.
Yes, we can provide with timestamps in our response, and that way you can manage the progress of conversation and maybe listen the conversation from the keywords you need to do it and to do some other things. So timestamps is provided. Yeah, timestamps are provided.
And there is another question. Can the sensitive data reduction solution find and redact data other than the card numbers or CVV codes? Sorry for that. Yes, of course. The answer is yes. Because in principle, the technology can find and redact any data that is needed. It doesn't need to be necessarily just the card number or the CVV code. It can be any string that is predefined and pre-set up in the solution, and it's all done in very flexible way. So basically, there is an interface or programmable interface that can reconfigure the solution. So it can find and redact basically any sort of data, not just the card numbers of the CVV codes.
For example, we can train our system to redact names and surnames or geographical place or product names and whatever you need.
Martin, another question has just come through. Would you be able to answer that? What are your experiences with languages other than English?
We have many languages enrolled, not just English. But in terms of English, it's also probably worth saying there is not just one English. We are making difference between US English, UK English, and various other English languages, because there are slight differences in terms of automating the solution. But we are now having enrolled and using all the major languages, the European ones, Italian, German, Swiss, French. We are working on Spanish and other ones. It's also probably worth mentioning, just out of interest, that we are the only one company that was able to enroll Swiss Deutsch, which is interesting language because it doesn't exist in writing. It's only verbal language. So it was quite difficult to enroll it for automated use or in automated solution, but we managed to do it with our technology.
And are you seeing, I mean, we touched upon MiFID, is our MiFID II. There's an expectation, obviously a number of firms are up against the MiFID timeline and deadline there. Are you seeing firms still interested in trialing this before the MiFID time deadline? No?
Yeah, we're seeing people contact us on a pretty regular basis, basically to explore what we can deliver, and also to start conversations on how we can work with companies on a very bespoke basis. So people are saying to us, well, these are our takes on what we believe MiFID II will be. This is how we would like this to work within our organisation. And we've got a number of projects that we're moving through with people on that basis.
And do you see that sitting with the compliance or teams or is that HR or the IT departments? Where does that sit?
I think it's being steered by compliance and delivered by IT and used within the operationals side. So you're covering at least three areas there within an organisation.
And this looks like this question links to the other one. Can your technology listen to speech in time and report non-compliant activity? Yes, the simple answer is yes. The technology can listen in time and online to audio streams and can report or can identify a report on any activity that is preset by the solution. It does cover also non-compliant activities, like, for example, not just saying the car numbers or the CVV codes, but also different items that are not exactly expressed in words, for example. So the search can be not based just on keywords, but can be based on meaning of the words. So basically, it's not just simply speech-to-text functionality that will pick up the keywords, but it's also with the more advanced semantic analytics, the solution or the technology can understand the meaning of the words, can react on that. It's basically like a human being who will be listening to a conversation and be able to find the information in that stream. Okay.
So another question: can a recorded message be digitized and entered to a linked system electronically, i.e., a phone call from an RFQ sent to a quote system?
I'm just reading the answer, but I can say here. So of course we can do either full text transcription or keyword spotting for this case, and use those techniques. We can provide this fully automated answering system for a wide range of customer calls, collecting their questions, or maybe input the customer issues about some kind of maybe technical issues, and put it in your CRM or in other back office system to proceed with it automatically.
Okay. Another question come in. Can you deal with ESL, English as a second language, spoken by foreigners or non-English?
That's a good question. The simple
before Brexit and after Brexit.
That's a good question, but simple answer again is yes. We can deal with non-native speakers. In some cases, it's probably even easier because the non-native speaker, they tend to explain themselves in English in a more precise way, more clear way. And the solutions we are using, it's tuned not just for native speaker, but also for foreigners. and it's based on the fact that we are using machine learning and artificial intelligence in terms of putting together all the components, and that help us also to tackle this topic. So that shouldn't be seen as a problem, but I would say probably even advantage when the foreigner is speaking. The system is handling that speech either in the same way or even with higher accuracy. Well, depending on the topic, depending on the region and the quality of the signal.
Good, thank you. So we've come to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much indeed for your questions. And what we will do is that we will post the updated slide deck and we'll distribute it as well. I know a number of questions have posed a demo of the Spitch site as well, which is available. Please do contact the presenters individually. As I said before, next to their pen portraits, you can click on the email and actually contact them directly if you want to take this conversation offline. Alternatively, we'll also put a transcript together of the questions that were asked so that you'll get a written response to that sent directly to yourselves. Please note that we'll be posting some of the blogs which will refer to the polls the audience polls that we asked you in this presentation as well. And also, I think this will be a moving feast. So I think that we'll see an advancement in a number of organizations going from early adoption and trialing it to actually full implementation. So I think that we will keep track of that from a member point of view, and also keep you aligned with what developments are happening in the speech analytics world. Indeed. Thank you very much indeed. On-demand version of this webinar will be available shortly to you. Have a great day. Thank you.